Yo, 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 we are back with another episode of Leaf with the Legends podcast. Man, today I'm joined by a big homie. I'm joined by a Bloom Township High School legend, Marquette University legend, 11-year overseas pro. Man, he played in Mexico, England, two-time British Player of the Year, nine-time European champion. We're going to get into a lot more of his accomplishments, man. But I'm joined by my man, Joe Chapman, man. Welcome to the pod.
Well, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on. This should
No
be
doubt,
fun.
no doubt. No, this is gonna be a good one, man. I'm excited for this one, man. So, you had a illustrious basketball career to say the least, and it's continuing on now. What you're doing with Chapman Basketball Academy, which we'll get into later. But let's take it back though. Let's who was the first person to really like influence you, with the game of basketball and really put that put the battery in your back.
I think, like a lot of kids, it's your siblings. It was my brother. It was my father. It was my uncles. It was the playground, people outside, looking up to, hood legends, local legends.
Yep.
We all want to be like those guys. So, I would say that was the first love. And obviously, growing up in Chicago, you got the Bulls, who was just on fire at that point. So that's where the love really came from. My dad, my brother, uncles, we all played. So, you take a little bit of pieces of what they teach you and you kind of roll with it.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So you end up going to Bloom Township, and you're the all-time leading scorer there still, right? That record still
Yep,
stands. Okay.
it
Yep.
still stands. These
There we
young
go.
these young bucks, they ain't broke it yet. They getting close, but
I hear you.
they haven't broke it yet.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So are you so as you were growing up, was there any other school like that were or schools that were in the running, or did you know like from an early age you were gonna go to Bloom?
Well, I knew I was going to go to Bloom. It was the closest to our house, and we got lucky because Bloom and Bloom Trail is two high schools,
Mm.
but it's only one basketball program. So you got five, six, small towns, and you got one athletic program. So similar to, I would say, a West Bend West and a West Bend East,
Got you. Got
but we combined our sports to make us, a powerhouse. So we were traditionally really good where we were. We were in one of the best conferences in the state. There was always one or two All-State players on each team, which is unheard of. So, our competition was good. I knew the players that, played in that program before, and I looked up to a lot of those guys. So it was an easy choice to go to that school.
Got you, got you. And like we said, you're the all-time leading scorer. So like, what's some of the moments that stand out, through your 4 years, being at Bloom Township?
Well, this what I try to tell the kids today is learn different roles, learn different, ways to score the ball. You got to be a three-level scorer to be able to accomplish, what I did in high school. You got to be able to, score in a post, score, in a mid-range, score on threes. Teams are going to box and one you. And I was a player who played, two to three different positions. I came into high school as a 4-5, left out as a 1-2-3, and I think that's some of the things that these kids need to learn today is play multiple positions. And then I didn't play varsity until midway through my sophomore year. And we got kids now that want to, jump on varsity right away, make their name. But there's nothing wrong with waiting your turn, learning how to play with older people. And also, it's just a appreciation of the program that you're in. If you're on varsity as a freshman right away, that's not always a good sign that you're in a good program, especially if you're getting a lot of minutes. If you're getting a lot of minutes and you're a freshman on varsity, that means either number one, you're a 5-star, can't take it away from you, or number two, the program is just not as successful.
That's deep, and that you hit it around the head. You hit it around the head. So taking it back a little bit, you said that you came into high school as a 4-5. So
Yeah,
I take it you had a growth spurt early on.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I hit a growth spurt, became 6'4", 6'5" ish, and I played the 4-5. So eighth, ninth grade, I was already the size I am today.
Hmm.
So it was stick them in a post, which was fine because I learned how to get easy buckets.
Yep.
Any scorer got to learn how to get easy buckets. So it was an easy transition from there. Playing at 4 or 5 my junior year, made All State, first team All State, and only took three threes. And I remember going into that summer of being recruited. A lot of the big schools. I remember Bill Self was at Illinois, and at this point, I'm a top 5 player in my class. And Bill Self at Illinois was like, "We don't recruit undersized 4 man, 5 man." So I kind of took that to heart because as a kid, everyone wants to go to Illinois. They was running it for a while. So that's where my motivation came from. Like, okay, if he's saying this about me, I got to get better. I got to transition my game over to the wing. And then my AAU coach put me on the wing at the 2 to 3 spot, which was great. So I got a chance to learn that. And then my senior year, I broke the school record, made 70 something threes. Shot 50% from the three as a senior. And it just stuck with me. It's continue to change how you play, continue to not let people put you in a box.
Yep. No, for sure, for sure. So with all those stats, those accolades, your recruiting is high. What ultimately made you choose to go to Marquette University?
Well, it was an hour and a half away.
Mhm.
It was in a great conference. There was a lot of Chicago kids that was on the team, and guys that I look up to that was there already. So the Cordell Henrys of the world who played at Marquette, who graduated a year before I did, before I got there. Um, he was there. He was a good friend. Ron Howard. Obviously Dwayne Wade, O'Doherty Blankson. It was just a lot of Chicago people there. Todd Townsend, Kevin Menard. It was just like, okay, it was an hour and a half. I know these guys. I just competed against some of them in high school. So that's going to be number one. And Coach Green was the first coach to recruit me as a sophomore. He saw me playing, and that was one of the special things there is sometimes the first offer is the best one because they see something that a lot of coaches not ready to pull that trigger on yet, but he was ready to do that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Coach Crane. So, like, now that you're a coach, you have a whole basketball academy. What are some of the lessons that Coach Crane instilled in you that you still carry today?
Oh, a lot. Attention to detail, being on time, looking people in the eye when you're talking to them, having a high standard for your team, having your morals down as a program, with the high five, with the, loose ball, running over there to pick everybody up, making practices as hard as you can so the game is a little bit easier. So that's the type of stuff you take with you. And he was an incredible offensive coach. So we always take things from our coaches, and that's some of the stuff I took from him. And you run through a brick wall for him just because how he'll motivate you that much to play the game that you'll do anything from. Even now, if he calls or you see him in person, you go back to when you were 18 and 20, like, okay, I'm about to run through a wall for this guy.
That's what's up. That's what's up. No, and that's special because not all alums can say that they have that relationship with their former coach, whether that's high school, college, or whatever. And and for all the things that you said that influenced you, it really has nothing to do with talent, right?
No,
It's just all the intangibles. Like you said, running over, making sure at least two guys run over, pick a guy up
yeah,
off the floor, loose balls, the high five, the touches, all those things. Like it makes the little things make the big difference. So, I
yeah,
was curious as to some of the things that Coach Crean had instilled in you that because obviously you see it, or I won't say obviously, but from my vantage point, just seeing how you operate, how you run your program, like it's there, it's evident, and
yeah.
the attitude reflects leadership. So props to you for sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I try to give to the next generation. We don't know how far every kid's going to go, but if you can instill life lessons into basketball, then you're doing your job.
Yep.
And if you're the head of the snake, you got to lead it the right way, so people see, on and off, like this guy is doing it the right way, regardless if we're winning every game or not. Those are going to come and go.
Yep.
It's more so about the relationships you build and the camaraderie these young men and women are taking with them to the next level.
Facts. Facts, facts. So let's take it back to that 2003 Final Four run with Marquette.
Yeah.
Man, let's just talk about like what was the mindset of the team? Like what was the vibe? Like what was the energy like? Let's kind of give us a deep dive into that season.
Well, that's my freshman year. The guys just came off. The guys that was here at Marquette just came off a tough first round loss to Tulsa, and they were ready to go that following year. They had a lot of returning guys. Had a big transfer to come in, Robert Jackson um, from Mississippi State. So we knew we were going to be a lot better than we were. And then you brought in Steve Novak, myself, Chris Grimm, and Kayron Bradley. Four freshmen to fill in the gaps. I felt like that year that they lost, they didn't have a lot of shooting and a lot of toughness coming off the bench. And that's something that me and Steve, in particular, we brought to the table. With our shooting and being able to guard multiple positions when we came in on the floor. So from that point of view, when we stepped on the campus, it was game on. Starting in June, when the freshmen can come on campus, it was just a different mindset. Those guys were foaming at the mouth to get started because of the way they lost. They knew the talent that was coming in. This is D Wade's second year now. He's starting to make a name for himself after a great redshirt freshman year. So he was ready to go. So just walking into that environment, it was go time. You couldn't be a regular freshman like, you might be late here and there. You got to go through it. You couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Everybody was on point. The leadership was there, not just from the coaches. It was the players. And we all been on great teams where if the players are leading it, then it's a lot better than the coaches. And the players was ready from day one. I remember on my visit, I signed, and Travis was like, "You just signed your 4 years away. Handcuffs off now." So it was just go time. Their whole mindset was, "How can we win?" And we're trucking along during the season. We're doing great. We hit some adversity early. We lost to Notre Dame at Notre Dame. And we just knew from that point we were going to make a run. We came back and watched the film, knew things we need to clean up to get better. But the guys was just locked in, from there. We found ourselves down by 19 to Louisville at Louisville. And that's when we knew we had a chance, to become special because we came back and won that game. Everyone played a key part in that game, from the starters to the bench players. The coaches was on point, beating, Rick Pitino in Louisville and Freedom Hall is never easy. So we did that, and we kind of knew we bonded from there. It was a road win. It was on ESPN, and everyone saw us, and we kind of took off from there.
That's dope. That's dope. No, I love it. I love it. I love to hear the stories and really like just the mindset because like you said, with when the players are leading the team and like
Yeah,
it's the ship kind of run kind of drives itself. So like no, that's
right,
dope. And y'all had them dudes on there. You know what I mean? So
right,
like,
right.
and I know how competitive you are. I know how competitive Trav is. I know how competitive D Wade is. So like, and Big Jack. Shout out Big Jack too. Just I could just imagine the battles. That all of you all held each other accountable. Throughout practice and whatever it was on and off the court. So that's dope.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Practice was, that was the hardest thing ever was the practices.
Yeah.
And I try to tell people that all the time. It's like those 4 years, we probably had 12 to 15 players that left, 8 to 10 coaches. That it wasn't easy to get through 4 years of that, because it was every day. It was a mental, physical battle. And these kids today that say they want to play Division 1, they don't understand how hard it is on that level. Every day of your life is something to do with basketball, of getting better. They're going to push you to the limits of what you thought you were going to be as a person and a basketball player. And that's what you want, but you got to really work towards that goal if that's what you want to do as an athlete. But that year was special. That bond is special. We're still on a text chain together. 20 some years later. We still wish each other happy birthdays and different things. So when you go through a special moment like that, you're kind of connected forever.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, I just from outside looking in, you got obviously the Duke brotherhood, but being closer to the Marquette, brotherhood, I see it, and I'm like, okay, I like how they rock, like everybody
Yeah,
always looking out for each other, like even on social media,
yep,
like y'all are always, bigging up each other, and it's really no ego behind it. You know what I mean? Like
right,
y'all all still cool and close. So that's dope to see. Like just taking like all of the personal matters out of it, and just knowing that y'all all went through the same thing. To accomplish a similar goal. So having those
right.
guys in the fire with you, though, that definitely creates that lifelong bond.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the one thing that we cherish the most today is the brotherhood we have. Even if you didn't play that particular era with someone, you're still, close to them and you still check on them. And I think that's special what we have. And I don't want to kind of lose sight of that. If, Wes was playing or Jimmy Butler's playing, I'll go to the game and sit there and high five them and, shake hands with them. And, I think that's part of the brotherhood that we all share and love.
No, for sure, for sure. So you finish up, at Marquette, have a great career there, and then you decide to, play overseas. So, kind of talk about what that transition is like, playing basketball overseas, and kind of what challenges and opportunities came, with that, with that career.
Well, it's a lot of challenges early. I started my career at 20 years old. I was a guy in that era. If you could reclass, you probably would have done it back then. I got a late August birthday, so I graduated college at 20. So starting my career at such a young age was a benefit later now. But at the time, the maturity factor of going to some of these countries that you just never seen before. And growing up in the inner city of Chicago, you're not used to flying, everywhere or going to different countries like that. So this to see how people interact with each other, the cultures that you find yourself in, but also just different languages. We're not used to 24 hours being around people that's not speaking the same language as you. But then that's what kicks in with body language and mannerisms, and even if you don't understand what someone's saying, if you played at a great program, you understand how to interact with someone with your nonverbal skills, with looking people in the eye, with ask, saying please and thank you, holding the door for people. Just the stuff you learned, from Marquette, it carried on as an early professional playing overseas. I remember my first job was in Colombia, and in Bogota, the capital. So when you think of Colombia, South America, you're thinking of violence, drugs. You're thinking of all of that. And I didn't see any of that. It was a beautiful place, beautiful country. I went over there with a duffel bag full of shoes, and immediately I got screened in the back by the airport security. Like, what are you doing here? Took out all the soles of my shoes. I'm a young pup. I don't know what the hell's going on. They're not speaking English. I'm getting detained. So, I get out of that situation and, the person who's picking me up, so I got a image of what I think a Colombian should look like, but in reality, they're darker than me. They're darker than us. So I didn't know that. So I walk up to the guy, I'm waiting 30, 40 minutes because I don't see anybody I think looks like a Colombian to pick me up. So, the guy, he comes up to me and I say, "What's up, bro? What's good?" And he didn't speak English at all. But that's just, I don't know. He darker than me. I'm thinking, all right, that's a brother. I can holler at him. But he was like, that was my taxi ride to my hotel, and that just woke me up. I'm in a hotel, like, man, I just felt bad for thinking that was somebody else because the first impression you always want to give a good one, and that
Oh,
was definitely wasn't a good one. But that was just one of many experiences. Playing 11 years, 4 continents. I was just blessed to see 18 to 20 countries for free during the game I love, and played 11 years, won 9 championships, a couple MVPs, but the relationships and the people I met along the way made the journey special. Every time I came home, I used to work the Marquette camps, just molded my brain and molded my mind on what I want to do once I was done playing the game. And I always spent time in my younger years overseas just trying to figure out what I want to become outside of basketball. Because you got 18 to 20 hours by yourself. You maybe got, 2 to 4 hours of practice, and the rest of the time you're trying to figure out, what you want to do. Now, as a young player, young person with a whole lot of time, that's probably not great because you want to go out, about to kick it, you got your own car, your own money now. We've never been in that position in life. So you go out there, and do stuff like that. But I was also, the one to start to think about what was next. What do I want to do? What kind of career I want to have? Do I want to get into coaching? Do I want to get into training? Do I want to get into skill development? So every summer when I was home, I was starting to build a portfolio of what I wanted to do later. And so while I was still playing, I was working on the future.
That's dope. That's dope. No, so how did you stay motivated? Throughout those 11 years, like what was your mindset? Because like you said, it's a lot of downtime. It's like you get lonely over there. You got coach, communication barriers, culture barriers, like all type of things. So like, what kept you going? For those 11 years.
Well, as a person and then as a player, you never want to stop. You always thinking about what country's next, what what's the highest level I can get to as an athlete, because that's all you know. So since 9 or 10, you grow up in the gym all the time. You thinking this is who you are. So every year, it's just like when August hits, you're supposed to be somewhere. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I got to be ready to get my suitcase ready. It's time to go. So it just kept me motivated because where all athletes are structured and disciplined. And once you have those two, everything else, you're like in a bubble. So, you know, unfortunately, the bad part of that is you're not a great uncle. You're not a great brother at times. You're not a great sibling, not a great son, because you're in a bubble of trying to get better with your discipline, your own journey, that you're so locked in on your own skill set to get better. And I think that's what I was, a person who was just locked in, to the moment and then focusing on the future. And that's why I kept playing, because I loved it. And then I found, in 5 years in England, I spent in one place, because I love the culture, I love the people. They took care of me, took care of my family, and we were winning a lot. And once you're winning a lot and you're in the right situation, sometimes that's what's best, and continue to try to chase, more money, more accolades. If you're in the right position overseas and the people take care of you, then you got a great relationships, because that's what carries you.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So, transitioning a little bit to life after, after playing, professionally. So, you're a husband, you're a father. So like how have those roles kind of changed your perspective on, basketball and life?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, my boys were born in Japan, my twin boys. So they got a chance to, see me for 3 years overseas, see the journey, just seeing it, breathing it, starting their journey with a ball in their hand, and just seeing the growth, of being a husband and a father. And I think that's just the important part of what a lot of us didn't have growing up,
Yep.
as a day to day father in their life, just to groom them and be there for them. So, trying to continue to create and erase generational curses. So, my next generation of boys can see, what it looks like. So, after I retired, it was more so I already knew what I was doing. Yeah, I didn't have to wait. A lot of athletes have that time in between where they don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
I was fortunate and blessed to start training, every year before I retired, to start, understanding like, okay, this is going to come to an end one day. All right, let me start to train more and more. So I started training girls. My first client was Chloe Murata, who graduated from Marquette a couple
Yep.
of years ago. I trained her. I knew her dad really well. And every time I was home in the summer, he asked me if I wanted to train her. And it just so happened one of the summers, it was getting serious as she was becoming a sophomore. And she was one of the best players in the state. So we just started working out more and more over the summer. It became 1 day a week to 3 days a week to 4 days a week. And just to see her work ethic, it inspired me and inspired her sister, who was, right underneath her, to start training with me. And then some of her friends started training with me. So before I knew it, it was the summer of 2017. Before I knew it, I had 30 to 40 clients. And it was that time for me to think about going overseas again because that internal clock
Yep.
is telling you, right, it's go time again. So I had to make that decision of do we really want to continue to do this or do we want to now jump into this platform of continue to grow something and take it by faith. And that's what we did. And, I retired, and as an athlete, you always think you can play longer,
Mhm.
right? So I'm 31, I'm like, man, I want to go into at least, my age now, I'm 40. That's what you want. That's what our brain thinks, right? But, it's great to get out of it while you can still walk, while you can still, get out of bed in the morning, take your kids to school, be a father and not be, I would say a part-time father, which means, you living your life overseas, but your kids are still here. You're trying to do your best to father them, but it's hard because, you're not there every day. So I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to make sure now that I was going into it to do it the right way. So with all these clients, that's when CBA took off because it was just a training service at first. And then the more clients I had that was third, fourth, fifth graders, the more of those parents asked me to start AAU. So that summer of 2018 is when CBA started as an AAU program. And then, in my mind, I was just trying to create um, different pieces of the puzzle. Didn't want to just be a training program, didn't want to just be AAU. I wanted to do camps, I wanted to do clinics, I wanted to do team takeovers, 3-on-3s. I wanted to put it all together. And that's what my mindset was because every time I came home over the summer, I was working Marquette camps. I was doing different individuals. So I knew that we can do this on our own if we had the right details, the right philosophy, the right people. We can have our own camps, our own clinics. And that's what we decided to do. So, coming towards 2018, it all started coming together.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope, and that's a great segue. So now with CBA, Chapman Basketball Academy, for those of you who don't know what the acronym stands for, but now you say you started with just the training, then you did the AU. Now, can you talk about some of the other programs that you have? That's all under the CBA umbrella.
Yeah, yeah. We started 2018 with two girls teams and two boys teams. Our first true graduating group was 2024. Um, and all those guys and girls are off playing D1 to D3 basketball. Our next graduating group is now 2025. And, we got all of our guys and girls situated to where they want to go for the most part. So that was 2018 with four teams. We're sitting now 2024 with over 125 teams.
Right.
And the growth every year was a standard of not just growth, but having quality over quantity.
Yep.
So, in this business and in life, if you are open to asking questions and listening to other people who have done it, it's going to help you become better. That's in coaching, that's in training, that's in as a player, as a husband. So I was always open to learning from different people. And, there was more room for growth here. CBA South started the year after we started with our 14. So 2019, CBA South started. Dave Mikowski, who's the director of our CBA South, Now he saw the growth that I was doing. He wanted to be a part of what we were doing. So he came up with our philosophy of what we wanted to do for our South Division, which is like Oak Creek, Muskego, McGuanago, Greenfield, Greendale, all in that area is our CBA South Division. Um, and then some of our coaches that's coached in our regular CBA division here in the Mequon area, Ozaukee County area, they live more up north. Port Washington, Random Lake, Oostburg. So they were like, hey, we want to start a CBA North, in this area of Sheboygan, going in the Fond du Lac area. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. Here's the philosophy, here's the game plan. I got the directors in that. And then, boom, that came together, with our CBA North division. Because once you got people who can, follow the criteria and take on how we've grown the area, it's easy to have directors because you can't do everything. You got to have people in place to help you do that. And it's just similar now. We just took over the Focus program, now going out west. Now we have CBA West. We started this year. We got over 30 teams already going out west, Brookfield, Tulsa, Pewaukee, Oconomowoc, going all in that direction as well. So we're just growing. But like I said, you always want to have quality. You got to have quality coaches, quality people, great directors, and you got to stand on something. And that's all stuff that I believe has happened since, I came here to Milwaukee. It's just been great people that's been a part of my village.
Man, that's dope. That's dope. Yeah, I knew that you guys had grown obviously year over year, but I didn't know it was to that extent. So man, props to you, man. So what would you say is the most rewarding part of working with the next generation of players?
I would say the brick by brick mindset of like getting better. And when you see it, you're a father. You got your son playing now.
Yep, yep.
When you see it clicks for a kid, you're like, dang, that's the reward right there. The click, and the click means you don't have to get on them as much. They're going to be on time. They can read the defense. They can put their skill into game and let it merge together. They're good people off the court. They're program builders. Where if there's a third grader in the gym, and now Tim Franks, who's a senior, who I had since fourth grade, he's in there teaching skills and drills to the kids. That's the rewarding part for me. Just to see that. And then, the other rewarding part is the kids that in college that calls you and text you and say, thanks for preparing me. Because I feel like I'm prepared when I walk through the door. And that's all, I want to do is help continue to prepare the next generation. It's always fun coaching, different things, but, helping a young man or young woman and keep them on their path. Just like, with yourself, it takes a village, and your village is the ones, that's going to carry you. And my mom used to say, show me your 5 friends and I can show you your future. So, I always try to keep that in mind when I'm growing these, young players is, keep them in a bubble of success because the 1% of people who make it to where I played and beyond, it's hard. And it's hard mentally, it's hard physically. People are going to bully you. People are going to make fun of you. You're not going to be the norm. So how can you feel comfortable when you walk through the door with other people that have that same mindset?
Oh, fact. So in the midst of you building CBA, you had another accomplishment. So talk about TBT, the basketball tournament, and you I would say you all's experience, with the Marquette Golden Eagles team, in the basketball tournament, winning the $1 million prize.
Yeah, it was an 8-year journey. And it was a lot of time and sacrifice when you look back on it, all the guys that was a part of that journey from the guys who obviously wanted to every year getting closer and closer to that goal. It was an 8-year journey of getting there. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the teams that played early in it as a player. So I was, seeing both sides of it.
Mhm.
And as I, continued to coach and was growing CBA, some of the guys, were like, hey, do you want to start coaching now that your playing career is over? So, that's when I realized that I can become a good coach because it's hard to coach your peers. It's hard to coach people with better accolades than you. The egos of older players is hard to manage. Um, but every year, we got better at that. The first year I coached, we went to the Elite Eight. The second year I coached, we went to the Final Four. The third year I coached, we lost in a championship game. And then the fourth year, we got over the huddle and won. And, every year it was because I got better at coaching. It was because I looked in the mirror as a coach and as a friend to a lot of these players, but to still be able to coach them.
Yep.
Um, and sometimes, as a player, you got to wear different hats, and when you're a young coach, that's very hard to do with guys who are all-time leading scorers, who are, NBA vets, who, when you got to wear different hats when you're coaching, that type of team and that type of players. And that's what I did. I put the coaching hat on, put the friend hat to the side, and I just got those guys better through the system, through ball movement, player movement, things that they didn't want to necessarily do, but we had to have. So building a roster with Dan Fitzgerald and Travis Diener, we knew every year we needed to build it the right way. Guys who are going to play hard. That's just our tradition. We're always going to play hard. A lot of these guys are pros, so they're going to put the ball in a hole a lot easier than they did in college. Some players were role players in college. Now they're NBA vets. So putting people in mix and matching their talents, and then having an old head on the team who's going to keep everyone in line with Travis Diener. I think you got to have a mix of both, like we talked about earlier. You got to have one or two players that lead the team and be an extension of the coach, and that's what happened to us. And I think that's why we won it in the bubble. We were the closest team. We had to stay inside of a hotel for 20 days, and we became close. We had our own segment in the hotel. Every team stayed on different floors. We had our own team room. We bonded together. We watched the championship game, how we lost the year before. And we just bonded. Every night we talked about what we need to do. And it was stressful at times because you had to pack your bags when you went to the game. You wasn't allowed to go back to the hotel if you lost. You had to, you were leaving because if we didn't want to, it was still COVID. So we were the first sports to come back. So they kind of used us as the guinea pigs of how to bring sports back. So that was, that time period of doing TBT was the best for us as a group. We're still very connected now, but as a coach, that just made me feel like I can coach anybody at any point. Even AAU with, how we deal with the crazy parents, the crazy, mindsets, but after coaching, TBT, none of that was going to phase me anymore. I just dealt with, in my eyes, the hardest thing to do as a coach is to coach, egos and older guys who are your friends.
Yeah, no, facts. And I'm in that AAU world too, so I know exactly who and what you're talking about. But yeah.
Yeah,
So with the TBT though, they had a hell of a basketball innovation with the Elam ending.
yeah.
So like, how can you talk about, like, kind of speak on the Elam ending, and then like how did that, if any, did it affect like your coaching strategy or your team strategy?
Yeah, it's great coaching. It's stressful, but you have to prepare for it. I think it's an added bonus to have that. It brings excitement to the game. It brings an ending to every game that's exciting, whether it's a free throw or a three or whatever. It ends on a make. So the pressure is that much more. And being an athlete, if you're up 15, you can coast the rest of the way. Like, we're going to get this dub. But when you got an ending in sight, where you got to get to, let's say, 82, and you still up 15, and you start messing around, the game can flip fast. And that's what was happening inside of that TBT with the Elam ending. And we brought it here in the high school level. We do it in the summer for the high school teams to play in it. And a lot of feedback is positive just because the ending, you got to end on a game winner,
Yeah.
and the strategies, offense, defense, what plays, quick hitters. You can't play slow. A lot of teams go wrong because they play slower, um, when it's the ending instead of just continue to play faster and get good shots early in the shot clock as opposed to always waiting to 8, 7, 6, 5 to start a one-on-one, from there. So our mindset, and Travis' mindset was let's play as fast as we can
Yeah.
in those innings and have a lot of shooters around. So anybody, get a foot in the paint, let's find our shooters and live with the results. So that's what the Elam Minute, kind of taught us. We lost in the Elam Minute in the finals when we were up by, 2 or 4, and we knew that feeling. So the next couple of years, we're like, okay, this is not going to happen again. Let's lock in and dial in on how to be successful at the end of the game.
Yeah, yeah, no, facts. And I love the Elam ending because it teaches or it kind of it teaches, the players to like continue to play to win versus not
Yes,
to lose.
right,
And
right.
like you said, like, keep your foot on the gas. Keep
Yep,
going, stay aggressive. No, we want to score, in the 12 to 15 range. We don't want to
yeah,
necessarily, grind it out and no, let's let's
right.
let's 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 keep doing what got us to this point.
Well, yeah, you think about the AAU world, you think about the high school world. When you get up 12 to 15 and one or two kids start to go behind the back and not get fundamentally sound, try to throw it off the glass. Now, you lose sight of why we're here.
Yep,
Now the team is about to come back.
yep,
So in the Elam Minute, it teaches you can't do that. Every possession matters because now analytics is saying it's a game of possessions. Literally, one bad possession can lead a team to thinking they can be better. And momentum in basketball is a hell of a thing.
yep.
It's only a handful of people, in every team in every state that when the momentum is going, that they can still get you a bucket. There's a lot of us. Once that momentum is going, our skill set drop fast. That's just a reality of playing the sport. It's just a handful of people. You be like, hey, you one of them dogs. You go get
Yeah,
us one.
yep.
So that's what the analytics is saying to us. So that's what the Elam Ending is forcing us to continue to play the right way.
hmm hmm So when it's all said and done, what do you want Joe Chapman to be known for?
Well, number one, a great husband, a great father. I think, just being a black man in this world, just to show that you can have that. And being an entrepreneur, being successful off the court, and just showing great leadership in that role. And then just running your own race. I think that's something that I always try to tell all the kids, run your own race. I was a role player at Marquette, played all 4 years, left at the all-time leading um, games at Marquette. Person who played the most games, me and Steve Novak. And I was a role player. I showed up every day. I did my job. I played hard. Played 11 years overseas. I say please and thank you. I look people in the eye. Do all the things that will make you successful. And I think that's one of the main things I want people to know. Just running your own race, be successful at it, and then open doors for you. We have our new building coming up, in Saltville, that's about to drop here in Memorial Day. And it's just about, running my own race. And that's how we got here, of having my own building. And I think that's something that will be our legacy. Me and my wife's legacy is leaving behind for our kids is here's something we can give to you, which we couldn't do from other generations, is leave something for their kids. And that's something that I want to do.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Yeah, and I'd be remiss if I didn't, shout out to the Chapman twins. They're in the same grade as my son Nasir, and they some dogs. You,
Yeah.
you could tell they grew up in the gym, they love it though. It's not
Yeah.
like nothing. You can tell nothing's forced. Like they're just
Right.
all like they just genuinely love the game, and they just so happen to be really really good at it. Uh,
Yeah, and I think that's the key is,
yep,
you teach them something early. Um, in my village, I learned from my teachers, my coaches, this discipline and structure.
Yep.
You give them that at an early age, give any kid that at an early age, and they can sustain it, and you sustain it for them until they can grasp it themselves. You just give them a head start in life. And that's all I really wanted to do is give them a head start. So when we, put a ball in their hand in first grade or K5, it was just about, getting them started with something because sports is a gateway to life. So whatever sport it is, if a kid can do any sport or instruments or band club or whatever, it's just going to help them be successful later.
No, for sure, man. All right. Well, Joe, I got 5 rapid fire questions, and then I'm gonna let
Okay.
you get up out of here. You ready?
Yep.
All right. First one. Favorite teammate.
Travis Dean.
Got you. I figured that one. Go to pregame meal.
Chicken and pasta.
Okay. Okay. If you could play 1-on-1 against any player, past or present, who would it be?
Scottie Pippen.
Mm.
Because I don't know if I can score. Because that dude was got to figure it out.
I got you. I got you. Dream coaching gig. Like
What I'm doing.
if you could coach any team in the world, past or present, who would it be?
Oh, the '86 Celtics.
Okay. All right. Let's. I want to dive a little bit deeper into that one. Why 86 Celtics?
Well, they had so many Hall of Famers. They were so tall. They were so fundamentally sound. I'm like a X and O guy. You could run so much stuff with them. You had Dennis Johnson at the point. You had, Bird and McHale and Parrish at the front line with Danny Ainge, and you had Bill Walton coming off the bench, Hall of Famer. So they were tall. They were athletic, and I think Larry Bird was one of the most special players. So just be able to do different things in this era. If I can coach them, that would be the team.
Got you. Okay. I mess with it. I mess with it. All right. Last one. Favorite basketball shoe you ever played in?
Oh,
And I know you're a sneakerhead. I know. I know.
man, I'm trying to think. So obviously the 11s, Jordan, the patent leathers. But we grew up in an era where you started not to play in those because they was better. They were better, in going to school with than wearing.
Yeah.
I like the AM ones that Spreewell used to wear. Vince Carter used to wear.
Yeah.
The AM ones. I thought they was dope. I had the Felines with the Grant Hills.
Oh yeah.
Those was dope back in the day. Uh, and then the pennies. I thought the pennies. You couldn't beat those pennies. So I would say the pennies was my favorite to play in, and wish we can go back to those.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, like I said before, man, I knew this was going to be a good one. Coming off my break, having season 2 kick off with you, this was awesome, man. So, man, we got Bloom Township High School legend, Marquette University legend, 11-year overseas pro, and we got entrepreneur, husband, father, just all around good dude, man. Joe Chapman, man. I appreciate you for pulling up to the pod.
I appreciate it, Leaf. Anytime, brother.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as always, be legendary or be lost. Peace.